No, this is not a drill. After 2 long years, we finally have a new webcomic chapter, chapter 142. This came as a huge surprise to me, as I'm sure it did for many of you guys, seeing as how one has been working on other projects like his new manga Versus and another new manga that he's just releasing right now. It kind of made it seem like the webcomic was no longer going to be built up and one was just going to be continuing the story through the manga with Murata. Well, one said, nah man, I'm back with this new awesome chapter, and although it is a short one, I'm not going to complain because any new webcomic chapters is fantastic news. But enough of the teasing, let's get right into it. So if you guys don't remember, which I'm sure you probably don't because it's literally been 2 years since the last chapter came out, we left off with Genos getting a final upgrade from Dr. Kuseno just before his death and just after Genos had taken down 3 dragon level machine gods at the same time that were invading Dr. Kuseno's lab. This was apparently Genos' final upgrade and his most powerful one at that, and it was pretty crazy to think about, seeing as how he literally just took out 3 dragon level monsters. It makes you think of Genos as like straight up a top 5 hero at this point without question. It'd be pretty hard to name 4 other heroes that are stronger than Genos at this point. Well, we also got to remember that just before this, Drive Knight had actually had a conversation with Genos revealing that Metal Knight, aka Dr. Bufoy, was the one who created the Mad Cyborg, to which Drive Knight is also a victim to as well. So they create this plan to invade Metal Knight's lab and bring him to justice. Well, Genos assumes that this attack on Dr. Kuseno's lab was Metal Knight's attempt to silence Genos and make sure that the truth isn't revealed. So with that being said, after Dr. Kuseno had just passed, Genos was dead set on invading Metal Knight's lab, but they were interrupted by this massive twist at the end of the chapter where it seemed like hundreds of Metal Knight's robots were completely demolishing a nearby city. And we actually pick up right from the end of that chapter in this chapter, where we see all these laser beams completely destroying the buildings in the surrounding city, and we get some dialogue from a bunch of people kind of panicking at the situation. It very much seems like people are straight up dying in this chapter, because in one page you see all this panic, all these people kind of wondering what the heck is going on, and in the very next panel you see those same buildings that it's kind of implied that they're talking from being completely demolished alongside cars trying to flee the situation. Like, things are getting pretty dire here and seemingly pretty dark. Well, as these robots are causing all of this destruction, Genos bursts onto the scene, and we waste no time in learning just how powerful Genos has become, because he straight up like speed blitzes all of these robots and just smashes through them like butter. If just one of these robots can single-handedly destroy an entire building, you'd assume that they're probably like high-level tigers, possibly lower-level demons on their own, and Genos is just shredding right through them no problem. We even get this incredible panel where he's like bursting through a ton of the robots like an action hero or something, with like an explosion behind him, very similar to how Saitama destroyed all the remaining machine gods just before leaving Kuseno's lab. And on that note, I want to point out that it does definitely seem like one's been working on his drawing skills, because for those of you that know the webcomic or have ever heard of the webcomic, you know that it's not known for its art, but more so its storytelling. Like the art isn't great, most of the time it's mediocre at best, but the storytelling was always incredible, so people love the webcomic. Well, it seems like one's been slowly trying to improve his own drawing here, because a lot of these pages look pretty damn good, and comparing them to some of his earliest stuff, you can tell that he's definitely dedicated a lot of time to improving here. But it's made pretty obvious that Genos is not messing around right now, and he has like straight up tunnel vision, thinking only of Metal Knight, because Saitama kind of sneaks up on Genos, and Genos, without a second thought, literally just turns to punch him right in the face. But of course, Saitama being Saitama, he just pops up right behind him, dodging the punch without a problem, and he points out what we've all been noticing in this chapter when he says, "Man, you're strong, Genos. Kuseno's final upgrade was a total success, huh?" And again, Genos just being dialed into Metal Knight, doesn't even acknowledge his statement, because he turns to Saitama and says, "Let's split up. Sensei, you eliminate all the monsters in the city, I'll attack Metal Knight's facility." And Genos kind of gives him this like death stare, pretty much saying like, "I'm not asking you to do this, I'm telling you, I'm going to go to Metal Knight's lab alone." And Saitama notices that Genos is pretty serious here and doesn't want to really interfere, and he says, "Alright, well just be careful then." And immediately after this, Genos kind of turns on his jetpack on his new upgraded body and goes flying through the sky, presumably towards Metal Knight's lab. But before he can get to the lab, he actually sees a monster monster attacking a building, and if you guys can remember, this is actually the meatball monster that killed that one super rich Neo hero's leader like 10 chapters prior. And Genos is kind of thinking to himself, like, it's not just robots, it's monsters too. Dr. Bufoy seemingly has these biologically altered monsters at his disposal as well. And without getting into too much theory stuff in this video, I definitely don't think that it's Metal Knight doing any of this stuff, if I'm being honest. Like sending those machine gods to Kuseno's lab, I don't think that was Metal Knight, and I don't think it's Metal Knight willingly unleashing his robots on the city that they're in. I'm gonna make a separate video about all this, but I very much believe that this is actually the organization, which is a completely separate entity from Metal Knight, that's actually pulling the strings here. Well, when we first meet this meatball monster, it's revealed that it's a threat level demon. Well, that doesn't matter at all because Genos straight up slices through it like butter, literally without skipping a beat. Like it's like a passing thought to him, let me just kill this monster really quick. And that's where the chapter ends. This was a pretty short chapter, but like I said, any new webcomic stuff is greatly appreciated, so I'm not going to complain. What did you guys think about this chapter though? Were you as excited as I was when you learned that a new webcomic chapter was dropped after 2 freaking years? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Let me know where you think things are going after this. Have an absolutely wonderful weekend, and I'll see you guys in the next video.